Stop being soft to everyone, for true strength comes from setting firm boundaries and honoring your own needs. Life is full of demands, and while it is important to show kindness and compassion, it is equally essential to protect your energy and preserve your peace of mind. Being constantly accommodating or people-pleasing may seem altruistic, but it often leads to emotional exhaustion and resentment. By learning to say no and standing firm in your beliefs and boundaries, you teach others to respect you and your time. This doesn't mean rejecting others or being unkind, but rather it is about cultivating self-respect and ensuring that your relationships are based on mutual respect, not manipulation or imbalance. True strength lies in knowing when to give and when to protect yourself, prioritizing your well-being without guilt. Self-respect serves as the cornerstone of a fulfilling and meaningful life. It is the silent force that underpins every decision, interaction, and relationship. When you respect yourself, you establish an internal sense of worth that does not rely on external validation or approval. However, the absence of self-respect can lead to a cycle of self-betrayal, especially when people-pleasing takes precedence over personal boundaries and well-being. At its core, self-respect is about acknowledging your own needs, desires, and values as equally important as those of others. It is not about arrogance or disregard for others' feelings, but about striking a balance where you prioritize your well-being without guilt. Many people fall into the trap of people-pleasing, believing that their worth is tied to their ability to make others happy or avoid conflict. This mindset, while seemingly altruistic, often leads to exhaustion, resentment, and a diminished sense of self. When you lack self-respect, you inadvertently send a message to the world that your needs are secondary, that your time and energy are less valuable. Over time, this erosion of boundaries chips away at your self-esteem, leaving you feeling disconnected from your authentic self. Every time you say yes to something that conflicts with your true desires, you compromise a part of yourself. The impact of this self-compromise can be subtle at first, but becomes more apparent as the weight of unfulfilled expectations accumulates. Learning to respect yourself requires courage and a conscious effort to establish boundaries. Boundaries are not walls meant to isolate you from others. They are guidelines that protect your mental and emotional well-being. By setting boundaries, you create a framework for how others can interact with you while ensuring that your own needs are met. Without boundaries, you risk losing yourself in the expectations and demands of others, constantly giving without replenishing your energy or asserting your worth. The foundation of self-respect lies in understanding that it is not selfish to prioritize yourself. Society often glorifies self-sacrifice, equating it with kindness and compassion. While helping others is commendable, doing so at the expense of your own well-being is neither sustainable nor healthy. True kindness stems from a place of abundance, where you give freely because you have cared for yourself first. Self-respect enables you to recognize when you are overextending yourself and empowers you to say no without guilt. Respecting yourself also reshapes the dynamics of your relationships. When you value yourself, you teach others to value you too. People tend to treat you based on the standards you set for yourself. If you consistently prioritize others' needs over your own, you may find yourself surrounded by individuals who take advantage of your generosity. On the other hand, when you assert your boundaries and act with self-respect, you attract relationships built on mutual appreciation and understanding. Self-respect is not an innate quality. It is cultivated through consistent practice and self-awareness. It begins with small acts, such as honoring your feelings, speaking your truth, and recognizing your worth, even in the face of criticism. Over time, these actions reinforce your belief in your own value and strengthen your ability to stand firm in your boundaries. Many struggle with the misconception that prioritizing self-respect means rejecting others or becoming self-centered. In reality, self-respect enhances your ability to connect with others authentically. When you respect yourself, You approach relationships from a place of wholeness rather than seeking validation or approval. This authenticity fosters deeper and more meaningful connections as you are no longer driven by the fear of rejection or the need to please. The power of saying no is one of the most underestimated yet transformative tools in creating a balanced and meaningful life. It allows you to protect your energy, focus on what truly matters, and establish boundaries that honor your self-worth. While society often encourages compliance and accommodation, the ability to say no is a profound act of self-respect and self-preservation. It is not about rejecting others or being difficult, but about making intentional choices that align with your values and priorities. Saying no is not inherently negative. It creates space for opportunities aligned with your values, allowing you to focus on what truly brings meaning and fulfillment. When you say yes to every request or obligation, you risk overextending yourself, spreading your energy too thin, and neglecting the things that truly matter to you. This pattern often leads to burnout, resentment, and a diminished sense of fulfillment. Learning to say no is about reclaiming your time and energy and redirecting them toward the pursuits and relationships that bring meaning and purpose to your life. The fear of saying no often stems from a desire to please others or avoid conflict. Many people worry that by declining a request, they will be perceived as rude, selfish, or unkind. However, this fear overlooks an essential truth. The people who genuinely respect and care about you will understand and appreciate your boundaries. Those who do not respect your no are often the ones who benefit from your lack of boundaries in the first place. Recognizing this distinction is key to overcoming the discomfort of saying no and embracing it as a necessary step in self-care. Saying no is not about shutting people out or disregarding their needs. Instead, it is about recognizing that your time and energy are finite resources and must be allocated thoughtfully. Every yes you give to one thing is a no to something else, often to your own well-being or priorities. By being selective about your commitments, you ensure that your yes carries weight and authenticity. This intentionality not only protects your energy, but also enhances the quality of your contributions to the things you choose to engage with. One of the most powerful aspects of saying no is the clarity it brings to your life. When you learn to decline requests or obligations that do not align with your values, you gain a deeper understanding of what truly matters to you. This clarity allows you to set meaningful goals, prioritize your passions, and cultivate relationships that uplift and inspire you. Saying no is not just about avoiding what you don't want. It is about making room for what you do want and ensuring that your life reflects your authentic self. The ability to say no also reinforces your self-worth. Every time you assert a boundary, you send a message to yourself and others that your needs and desires are valid. This act of self-affirmation builds confidence and resilience, empowering you to navigate life's challenges with a strong sense of self. Over time, this practice shifts the way you view yourself and the way others perceive you. People begin to respect your time and boundaries because you have shown that you respect yourself. Saying no is not without its challenges. It can be uncomfortable, especially if you are accustomed to prioritizing others' needs over your own. The initial discomfort often arises from ingrained habits of people-pleasing and a fear of disappointing others. However, this discomfort is a necessary part of growth. By embracing it and practicing saying no, you gradually build the courage and confidence to stand firm in your boundaries. Each no becomes a step toward greater self-respect and a more balanced life. It is important to remember that saying no does not require elaborate explanations or justifications. A simple and respectful no is sufficient. Over-explaining or apologizing for your decision can undermine your boundaries and invite pushback. Instead, trust that your no is valid and that you have the right to set limits without feeling guilty. This approach not only strengthens your boundaries, but also models healthy communication for others. Saying no also has a ripple effect on your relationships. It filters out those who are primarily interested in what they can gain from you and creates space for connections built on mutual respect and understanding. When you prioritize your well-being, you attract people who value and support your boundaries. These relationships are more fulfilling and sustainable because they are grounded in authenticity and reciprocity. Saying no to unhealthy dynamics opens the door to healthier and more meaningful connections. Another significant benefit of saying no is the freedom it brings. When you are no longer burdened by obligations that do not serve you, you gain the mental and emotional space to explore your passions, pursue your goals, and enjoy your life more fully. This freedom is not just about having more time. It is about reclaiming your agency and living in alignment with your true self. Saying no empowers you to make choices that reflect your values and priorities, rather than being driven by the expectations of others. The act of saying no also fosters self-awareness. It encourages you to reflect on your values, desires, and limitations, helping you make decisions that honor your authentic self. This self-awareness deepens your understanding of who you are and what you want from life. It also enables you to recognize when you are acting out of obligation rather than genuine desire, allowing you to make more intentional choices. While saying no may not always be met with approval, it is essential for maintaining your mental and emotional well-being. It is a reminder that you cannot pour from an empty cup and that taking care of yourself is not a luxury, but a necessity. By prioritizing your needs, you ensure that you have the energy and capacity to show up for others in meaningful and authentic ways. Saying no is not an act of rejection. It is an act of self-respect and self-preservation that ultimately benefits everyone involved. In a world that often equates busyness with success, the power of saying no is a radical and liberating choice. It challenges the notion that your worth is tied to your productivity or ability to meet others' expectations. Instead, it affirms that your worth is inherent and that your time and energy are valuable resources to be cherished and protected. Saying no is not about doing less. It is about doing what matters most and living a life that reflects your deepest values. Manipulation awareness is a critical skill in maintaining emotional health and establishing boundaries that protect your well-being. Manipulation often operates subtly, making it difficult to detect until its effects are deeply rooted. It disguises itself in behaviors that may seem caring, persuasive, or even charming, but the underlying intent is to influence or control you for someone else's benefit. Recognizing these behaviors is essential to reclaiming your power, setting firm boundaries, and fostering healthier relationships. Manipulative individuals often prey on empathy, guilt, or fear to achieve their goals. For instance, a friend might repeatedly guilt you into canceling plans by saying, "You don't care about me if you don't come," even when your boundaries are clear. Recognizing such patterns allows you to take back control of your time and energy. They may use subtle tactics such as gaslighting, emotional blackmail, or shifting blame to make you question your own feelings and decisions. Gaslighting, for instance, involves making you doubt your perception of reality, often through statements like, "You're overreacting," or "That never happened." These comments, while seemingly harmless, erode your confidence in your own judgment over time, leaving you dependent on the manipulator's version of events. Recognizing gaslighting requires a strong sense of self-awareness and trust in your own experiences. Emotional blackmail is another common tactic used by manipulators. It relies on exploiting your sense of responsibility or empathy to coerce you into doing what they want. Statements like, "If you really cared about me, you would do this," or "You're hurting me by not agreeing," are designed to make you feel guilty for asserting your boundaries. This guilt can be so overpowering that it compels you to comply, even when it goes against your values or well-being. Identifying emotional blackmail involves recognizing when your emotions are being weaponized against you and refusing to let guilt dictate your actions. Manipulators are also adept at shifting blame, avoiding accountability for their actions, while placing the responsibility squarely on your shoulders. They may frame you as the cause of their mistakes or as the one being unreasonable, creating confusion and self-doubt. When you find yourself constantly apologizing or questioning your role in conflicts, it may be a sign that someone is manipulating the narrative. Breaking free from this dynamic requires clarity and the courage to hold others accountable for their actions without internalizing their attempts to deflect blame. Selective praise and criticism are another powerful manipulation tool. Manipulators often alternate between building you up and tearing you down to create dependency on their validation. They may offer compliments that feel excessive or insincere, only to follow them with subtle criticisms that make you feel inadequate. This cycle of approval and disapproval keeps you emotionally invested as you strive to regain their favor. Recognizing this pattern is vital to regaining your independence and understanding that your worth is not defined by anyone else's opinion. A particularly confusing form of manipulation involves playing the victim. Manipulators may position themselves as the ones being mistreated, even when their behavior is harmful or controlling. They might say, "I can't believe you're doing this to me," or "Why are you being so unfair?" to shift focus away from their actions and onto your response. This tactic is designed to make you feel guilty or defensive, distracting you from addressing the real issue. Understanding this dynamic allows you to stay grounded and focused on the facts rather than being swayed by emotional appeals. Manipulative behavior often involves creating a sense of urgency. Manipulators may pressure you to make decisions quickly, leaving you little time to consider your options or consult others. This sense of urgency is a deliberate strategy to prevent you from thinking critically or asserting boundaries. Recognizing when you are being rushed or pressured allows you to step back, take your time, and make decisions based on your needs and values rather than someone else's agenda. Isolation is another tactic commonly employed by manipulators to consolidate control. By sowing doubt about your relationships with friends or family, they create a sense of dependency on them alone. Statements like, "I'm the only one who truly understands you," or "Your friends don't have your best interests at heart," are designed to erode your support system and make you more reliant on the manipulator. Recognizing this tactic is essential to maintaining strong connections with others who genuinely care about you and can offer perspective. Flattery, while seemingly positive, can also be used as a form of manipulation. Excessive or overly strategic compliments may be employed to lower your guard and gain your trust. Manipulative flattery often feels calculated, serving as a means to an end rather than a genuine expression of admiration. By staying attuned to the intent behind compliments, you can discern whether they are sincere or being used as a tool for influence. Triangulation is another sophisticated manipulation strategy where a manipulator brings a third party into the equation to create tension or competition. By comparing you unfavorably to someone else or suggesting that another person agrees with them, they aim to undermine your confidence and make you feel isolated. Recognizing triangulation requires understanding that it is a deliberate attempt to destabilize you and shift your focus away from the manipulator's behavior. Developing manipulation awareness involves cultivating trust in your instincts. Manipulators thrive on creating confusion and self-doubt, making you second-guess your feelings and perceptions. However, your intuition is often the first indicator that something is off. When interactions consistently leave you feeling uneasy, drained, or unsure of yourself, it is important to listen to those feelings and examine the dynamics at play. Trusting your gut can help you identify manipulation early and take proactive steps to protect yourself. Establishing boundaries is a crucial part of countering manipulation. When you clearly define what behaviors are acceptable and enforce those boundaries consistently, you disrupt the manipulator's ability to control you. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, but about creating a safe and respectful space for yourself. They send a clear message that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable and not to be exploited. Recognizing manipulation is not just about protecting yourself, but also about fostering healthier relationships. When you identify and address manipulative behaviors, you create an environment where authenticity and mutual respect can thrive. This process may involve difficult conversations, confronting uncomfortable truths, and even walking away from relationships that do not honor your boundaries. However, the outcome is worth it, as you surround yourself with people who value you for who you are, rather than what they can gain from you. Strength and compassion is the delicate art of balancing empathy for others with unwavering respect for your own needs and boundaries. It is often misunderstood, as many equate compassion with self-sacrifice, believing that to be kind is to always yield, accommodate, or comply. True compassion, however, is not about losing yourself in the service of others. It is about extending care and understanding from a place of strength and self-respect, ensuring that your generosity does not come at the cost of your own well-being. Practicing compassion requires recognizing the humanity in others while honoring your own. Empathy allows you to connect with the emotions and struggles of those around you, but without boundaries, it can become overwhelming and depleting. Setting firm limits is not a rejection of compassion, but an affirmation that kindness must include yourself. When you care for others while neglecting your own needs, you risk burnout, resentment, and an erosion of your self-worth. True compassion is sustainable only when it is grounded in mutual respect and balanced with self-care. One of the greatest challenges in practicing compassion with strength is the fear of being perceived as selfish or unkind. Many struggle with guilt when they prioritize their own needs, worrying that they are letting others down. Yet the reality is that you cannot pour from an empty cup. By attending to your own mental, emotional, and physical health, you create a foundation from which you can give more effectively. Compassion rooted in strength ensures that your care for others is authentic and not driven by obligation or exhaustion. Compassionate strength also involves the courage to say no when necessary. It is not always easy to set boundaries, especially when you are met with resistance or disappointment. However, saying no is sometimes the most compassionate choice, both for yourself and for others. When you say no, you protect your energy, uphold your values, and prevent yourself from overcommitting to the point of resentment. At the same time, you teach others to respect your limits and demonstrate that healthy relationships require reciprocity and understanding. This balance between compassion and boundaries fosters deeper and more meaningful connections. When you lead with empathy but remain firm in your self-respect, you create relationships that are built on mutual trust and authenticity. People who truly care for you will appreciate and respect your boundaries, recognizing that your well-being is just as important as theirs. Conversely, those who take advantage of your kindness or disregard your limits reveal themselves as unhealthy influences in your life. Practicing compassionate strength helps you discern which relationships are worth nurturing and which may need to be reevaluated. Strength in compassion also involves the ability to offer tough love. While it may be tempting to shield others from discomfort or consequences, true compassion often requires holding people accountable. Tough love is not about being harsh or punitive. It is about supporting someone's growth and well-being by encouraging them to face challenges and learn from their experiences. This form of compassion may be uncomfortable in the short term, but ultimately fosters resilience and self-reliance in the long term. It demonstrates that you care enough to prioritize their development over their immediate comfort. Compassionate strength is not passive. It requires actively balancing your empathy for others with your commitment to your own needs. For example, listening to a friend's struggles while respectfully declining a request that overstretches you demonstrates this balance. It demands self-awareness to recognize your limits and assertiveness to communicate them clearly. It also requires emotional intelligence to navigate the complex dynamics of relationships, balancing empathy with self-protection. By practicing compassionate strength, you empower yourself to engage with others in a way that is both kind and respectful of your own needs. This approach not only preserves your energy, but also models healthy boundaries for those around you, encouraging them to cultivate the same balance in their lives. An essential aspect of compassionate strength is the ability to detach from the need for validation or approval. When your compassion is driven by a desire to be liked or to avoid conflict, it becomes conditional and unsustainable. True compassion is rooted in integrity and self-assurance, allowing you to act with kindness regardless of how others perceive or respond to it. This detachment frees you from the pressure to meet unrealistic expectations and enables you to prioritize actions that align with your values and well-being. Self-compassion is a vital component of compassionate strength. Many people extend empathy and forgiveness to others while being harshly critical of themselves. Practicing self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you offer to others. It involves acknowledging your humanity, embracing your imperfections, and giving yourself permission to rest and recharge. Self-compassion is not indulgent or selfish. It is a necessary practice that strengthens your ability to show up for others in meaningful and authentic ways. Compassionate strength also teaches you to let go of the need to control outcomes. While you can offer support and understanding, you cannot always dictate how others will respond or whether they will change. This acceptance allows you to focus on what you can control, your actions, intentions, and boundaries, without becoming entangled in the expectations or reactions of others. It is a liberating mindset that fosters peace and resilience, enabling you to navigate relationships with grace and confidence. In practicing compassionate strength, you cultivate a sense of empowerment that radiates outward. You become a source of stability and inspiration for others, showing that it is possible to lead with kindness while standing firm in your truth. This balance not only enhances your own well-being, but also creates a ripple effect, encouraging those around you to embrace the same principles. Compassionate strength is not just a personal practice. It is a transformative force that can elevate the dynamics of entire communities and relationships. Tough love is an approach that balances care and compassion with the firm boundaries needed to foster growth and accountability. It is a form of love that does not seek to shield people from discomfort or consequences, but instead empowers them to confront challenges head on. While it can feel uncomfortable or even harsh at times, tough love is ultimately an act of deep care, rooted in the belief in someone's potential to grow and thrive. By holding others accountable, you encourage them to rise to their own abilities and responsibilities, fostering resilience and independence. At its core, tough love recognizes that enabling behaviors that hinder growth is not an act of kindness. When you constantly rescue someone from their mistakes or shield them from the natural consequences of their actions, you deny them the opportunity to learn and develop the skills they need to navigate life. Tough love requires stepping back, even when it is difficult, and allowing people to face the outcomes of their choices. This does not mean abandoning or neglecting them, but supporting them in a way that encourages self-reliance and personal growth. Practicing tough love often involves having difficult conversations, such as telling a close friend struggling with harmful habits, "I care about you deeply, but I can't support actions that hurt you. I'll be here when you're ready to make a change." These moments are uncomfortable, but pave the way for genuine growth. It is not about being confrontational or punitive, but about being honest and direct, even when the truth is hard to hear. One of the challenges of tough love is overcoming the fear of being perceived as unkind or unsupportive. Many people avoid setting boundaries or addressing difficult issues because they worry about damaging their relationships or being judged as harsh. However, tough love is not about prioritizing your own comfort. It is about prioritizing the other person's well-being and long-term growth. True love and care sometimes require you to push someone out of their comfort zone knowing that the discomfort is a necessary catalyst for change. Tough love also requires you to let go of the desire to control outcomes. You cannot force someone to change or grow. You can only create the conditions that encourage them to do so. This means accepting that your role is to guide and support, not to fix or rescue. It also means recognizing that growth is a personal journey and that the other person must ultimately take responsibility for their own progress. By respecting their autonomy and trusting in their ability to navigate challenges, you empower them to take charge of their own lives. In relationships, tough love fosters mutual respect and accountability. It sets the expectation that both parties contribute to the relationship in meaningful ways, rather than one person shouldering all the responsibility. When you enforce boundaries and address issues with honesty, you create a dynamic where both individuals are encouraged to be their best selves. This mutual respect strengthens the relationship, as it is built on a foundation of trust, accountability, and shared growth. Tough love is particularly important in situations where self-destructive behaviors are present. Whether it is substance abuse, unhealthy relationships, or poor decision-making, tough love shines a light on the consequences of these actions and challenges the individual to take responsibility for their choices. While it may be tempting to offer comfort or excuses in these situations, doing so often enables the behavior to continue. Tough love, on the other hand, sets clear boundaries and communicates that change is necessary for their well-being. It is an act of love that says, I believe in your ability to overcome this, and I will support you as you do, but I will not enable you to stay where you are. The practice of tough love is not limited to addressing others. It also applies to the way you treat yourself. Self-discipline and accountability are forms of tough love that you can use to foster your own growth and development. This means holding yourself to a high standard, acknowledging when you fall short, and making the necessary changes to align your actions with your goals and values. Tough love toward yourself is an act of self-respect and self-care, as it ensures that you remain committed to your own well-being and progress. One of the most powerful aspects of tough love is its ability to transform relationships. When you practice tough love, you establish clear expectations and boundaries that create healthier dynamics. You demonstrate that love is not about enabling or appeasing, but about supporting each other's growth and holding each other accountable. This approach fosters deeper connections, as it is grounded in mutual respect and a shared commitment to personal and relational development. Tough love also helps people recognize their own strength and capability. When you step back and allow someone to take responsibility for their actions, you send the message that you believe in their ability to handle challenges and make positive changes. This belief can be incredibly empowering, as it encourages them to see themselves as capable and resilient. Tough love is not about diminishing someone's confidence, but about helping them build it through their own efforts and achievements. Tough love is an expression of deep care and respect. It is not about being unkind or unsupportive, but about choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to embrace discomfort for the sake of meaningful change. Tough love is a gift that encourages others to step into their potential, take responsibility for their lives, and build the resilience needed to thrive. By practicing tough love, you create a path for stronger relationships, personal empowerment, and a life lived with integrity and purpose. In conclusion, the narrative underscores the transformative power of self-respect, the importance of setting firm boundaries, and the balance of compassionate strength. These elements are not merely tools for personal growth. They are foundational principles for leading an authentic and fulfilling life. Self-respect begins within, rooted in the recognition of one's inherent worth and the courage to honor it through actions and decisions. This inner sense of value radiates outward, shaping relationships and interactions with authenticity and mutual respect. Boundaries are the framework that supports self-respect, serving as a guide for how others should treat us and how we treat ourselves. They are not barriers, but pathways to healthier, more balanced connections. Compassionate strength complements this framework by encouraging empathy that is neither self-sacrificing nor enabling. It teaches us to care deeply while standing firmly in our values, ensuring that kindness does not come at the expense of our well-being. By embracing self-respect, boundaries, and compassionate strength, you unlock the freedom to live authentically. Let this journey be a testament to your courage, a life rooted in your values and guided by the unwavering belief in your own worth. This alignment allows us to live authentically, free from the constraints of seeking external validation or conforming to others' expectations. The journey is not always easy, but it is profoundly rewarding, as it leads to a life defined by clarity, purpose, and an unwavering commitment to living as one's truest self. In embracing these principles, we not only transform our own lives, but also inspire others to do the same.